The bank chose to sit on its hands today, but its two interest rate cuts in 2016 have put some heat back into the housing market. Sydney and Melbourne are surging ahead, and auction clearance rates have hit 15-month highs. Carrington Clark reports from some hot Sydney auctions.
Ready when you are. Going to look for that opening bidder offer, maybe anything between 1 million and 1.1 to get us underway.
Sydney's property market is running hot.
13, there we go, make it 1.4 to advance from here on in.
Nobody knows that better than Anthony Cases. He's been on the house hunt for 3 years.
It's a frenzy. There's just so many people. The last sort of 3 to 6 months, it's absolutely just palpable. It's crazier than ever.
And those people are bidding up prices. The latest numbers from CoreLogic show home prices increasing more than 1% every month. Sydney home prices now up more than 63% in just 4 years. Melbourne up 44%.
Demand for housing from investors in particular is bouncing back again after having been dampened by some of the measures that the banks took under pressure from APRA during 2015.
Changes aimed at slowing demand from foreign buyers don't seem to be making much difference.
A bit of a hiccup when that policy was announced, but the lower interest rate was actually replacing the foreign buyers with the local buyers. So what we're seeing is a surge of local buyers that's suddenly coming out of the woodwork.
Sold. Well done, man. Congratulations.
And there we have it, another successful auction result here in Sydney. There doesn't seem to be any end in sight to the aggressive buying activity we've seen.
Selling to the highest bidder.
But are these prices sustainable?
$1,670,000. Congratulations.
Whether Australia's housing market is in a bubble or not is often in the eye of the beholder.
All of our policy settings encourage people to throw money at houses, to spend more money on houses, but it's not a guarantee that the gamble will pay off.
Some argue Sydney still has room to move.
We feel like the market will just continue to go stronger because comparatively, if you look at the price in Sydney compared to a similar city of similar GDP like Singapore, Hong Kong and Shanghai, like $250 billion GDP, our price is actually very cheap.
What I think is unarguable is that Australia now has some of the world's most expensive residential real estate, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne, and we also have one of the highest, indeed by the Bank for International Settlements data, the highest ratio of household debt to disposable income in the world.
A huge amount of apartments are also in the pipeline. Global banking giant Citi says 230,000 were built over the past 12 months, with another 205,000 next year and 172,000 in 2018.
For there to be a housing price crash, you need to have two things happening at once. First, you need a material number of forced sellers. And second, you need to have those forced sellers selling into an oversupplied market. Here in Australia, we don't really have either of those criteria being met at the moment.
The housing market has defied sense and rationality for too long. Why should we believe that someone else will come along and always pay more?
But developer Iwan Sanito says there's still a shortage.
Sydney has got a problem with supply. At the moment, we had like 50,000 dwelling shortages in the city of Sydney.
For those in the market, it remains a case of buyer beware.
Part of the problem in those parts of the world where we have seen housing price busts is that many investors have been under the illusion that house prices only ever go one way. People in those countries know that that's not true. It may be that in some parts of Australia that lesson's going to be learnt the hard way here.
A home that's renovation ready, just waiting.
It's cold comfort for those desperate to get a foot on the property ladder.
I'm sick of renting and I need a house to live with my family in. So I prefer to pay the money to the bank than to keep paying rent. So that's really that's it. Like while interest rates are low, you've got to use this chance. But then again, everyone's thinking the same thing. So is it a good move? I'm not really sure. I worry about this stuff. You know, you lose sleep over this stuff.
And it doesn't look like that game is going to get any easier.
Otherwise, the lady's got it. Here we stand.
Anytime soon.